Hey everyone, tonight we're going to learn how to create media queries for your website, so when someone's looking on it on a mobile phone, it will adapt automatically and you can change your whole design based on the type of device the person's using to view it. And what we're going to do is use this kind of built-in code that will fluidly transition between laptops or desktop systems and um, iPads or iPhones, that kind of thing. So tablets or smartphones. So here's how we get started with this. And this whole kind of thing that we're doing is called responsive design, and media queries are the things that make it happen. Whoops. What we want to do is go into Dreamweaver, and here I'm going to start with new. And instead of the usual thing that we've been doing with the blank pages, instead we're going to go to new fluid grid layout. And if yours doesn't have these designs here, you can just hit the reset to default and that will bring that up. You can customize this and experiment with those as you wish. What you're going to see here, though, this is the 960 grid that we talked about earlier in class. This is something that has been kind of baked into the new version of Dreamweaver, or the last couple of versions of Dreamweaver. So we're going to say create, and this is the all-important step. When this kind of stuff happens, really take a moment out to make sure you know where you want the stuff to go. And like I've been trying to stress since we started working with websites, you always want to put all of your files that are related to a particular website in one location. So I'm going to make a new folder. I'm going to call it Fluid Grid. And then I'm going to say create. Right now I just have this on my desktop. You may want to put yours in your documents folder. But you can later just grab that whole folder with all your stuff and drag it to wherever you want, and none of the dependencies are going to get lost. So right now I'm going to name the CSS file that we're going to make, and this is going to have the media queries for the 3 different sizes. I'm going to just call it main. You can call it layout, whatever you want. Okay, and so what I want you to see here, if we go over to design view, here we have in the bottom right hand corner here, you can look and see this is what the tablet's going to look like, and this is what it's going to look like on a desktop. And there are these these bars, these grids, to help you kind of manage the look and feel. So let's go to split view right now, and here's an important step. What I want you to see here is that everything that we're going to have to write to keep this fluid grid look is got to be in this grid container. And you can see this is that closing div for that, and then this guy right here, this use insert panel, this text, we can get rid of that, and let's just make our own. I'm going to hit delete here and then save. Now what I want to do is make this HTML document go right into our fluid grid folder, and for the first page that we're going to make in any website, it's called the index page, so index.html. Now don't panic when you see this. This is a good thing. These are dependent files that are going to be CSS that's written for us and some JavaScript that's written for us, and it'll automatically kind of be put into that folder that we've designated here. So now what I want you to see is we still have our grid container and its open and close div, and now we're going to put all of our own things right in here. So we're going to start with, and the name, let's title our document My First Fluid Grid Site. Okay, now we can use the insert panel, and if you don't see yours here, just go to Window and choose Insert. We're going to start with inserting a header, and we're going to just call it head, and you can see it is being put right there. And then let's put in a nav bar. Let's call this one navigation, and I'm just going to call it nav. Say OK. You can see here that it's make sure this box is checked, insert as fluid element. That's the thing that's going to make it change as we go to the different types of devices. Now I want to do a series. What we're going to do here is make a a grid of videos or a grid of audio, just like kind of what we've been doing the last few weeks where we have multiple videos that you've been putting into websites. But we're going to make a grid that's going to be two, for the desktop at least, it'll be a row, two videos in each row, and a column of two videos in each column. Okay? And this will make sense in just 2 seconds. Just kind of go with it. Div. I'm going to insert a div here. I'm going to call this one video row 1 column 1. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing again. Div, make sure that fluid grid is checked. Video row 1 column 2. And then I'm going to say insert another div, video. This time it's going to be row 2 column 1. And then another one, video row 2 column 2. Okay, now last thing we're going to insert is a footer. We'll just go insert footer here. We'll call it foot. Okay, now let's take a look at what we have so far. So these are just containers. These are all just divs for the things that are going to be there. What I want you to see here, we're in the desktop view right now. And what I want to do here is I want to have these, the row 1 be together. And so when you select row 1, column 1, all of these will have these little kind of, I don't know, like an outline kind of show up like this information here. And I just drag that to the right, and I'm making that split in two. So I'm using 6 of these columns is going to be the size of 1/2, and then for this other column 2 here, I'm going to go to 6 as well. Do you see how that arrow changes like that? And look at how that column's is saying 7 and now 6. Okay, I'm going to get it right there. And now that I have that, Dreamweaver is giving us this arrow to say, do you want to move this up? You can just say yes to that. You can see there's a little space in there. We're going to do the same thing with a row 2. Okay, I'm just going to drag that here. Boom. And then once again, I'm making each of these columns 6 columns wide. Okay, and now let me just shift this one up as well. Okay, so that's the desktop. I'm going to do the same thing for the tablet. So there'll be 2, but this time the tablet has 4 grids, so I'm going to say column 4, and then the width. This is talking about the width. The div that we made just says we want these 2 videos side by side, and I'm going to jump up there. And then I'm going to do the same thing for our second row. Again, it's going to be 4 columns wide. So what this fluid grid is enabling us to do is to say, use this kind of scheme here, this fluid grid scheme, and have it respond and change depending on the device. So for the one I want to do for the mobile phone, this guy here, I want to not make them split. You could make it go 2-2, but for me I felt like it was a little bit too small on someone's phone, so I'm going to have that be just each individual videos. They'll take up the whole screen, and they'll just be one on top of the other. Okay, I'm going to save that. You can see how my main.css needs to be saved. Now let's throw some content in here. Let's go to the pure code view for right now. And you can see how here's our head, and this is okay, here we go. Right here, I'm just going to clean this up a little bit. Sometimes I like to just see it a little bit clearer, and like in the kind of way that we have it here. So there's our head, there's the nav, here's the kind of everything that's within our grid container, and that div is way down here. For every opening one, we have a closing one in HTML. And here's our kind of 4 videos. Let me just kind of separate these a little bit. You can do the same thing here. And you'll see our kind of, this is why it's really important to use good semantic words when you're working with this stuff, so you know where you are when you're looking at it in code view. And I'm just going to do the same thing here. Okay, so those are our and let me just, here's our footer. We can throw that more towards the bottom. Now I'm going to replace this text here with some embed codes. And if you want to pause the video and get 4 video embed codes or audio embed codes, do that now. I'm just going to go Command Paste, and so here I'm going to change this to 100%, and I'll explain why I'm doing this. Basically, it's going to fill that entire div that we've created. Instead of it being a particular set of pixels, we're going to say adapt to whatever the kind of size of the person's browser, adapt 100%, fill the video with that, fill that div with this, with the iframe video at 100%, the embedded video at 100%. We're also going to just put the HTTPS colon in here as well, our favorite little trick. So everything we've done recently. Let's just grab one of these other ones. And I'm going to work quickly here just to not make this the most boring video ever. Okay, and then instead of doing that other stuff, I'm going to do those quickly, copying, pasting those things. So I'm just going to put all 3 of these in right now. And they're going in between the divs. So the iframe goes in between the divs. I'm going to go Command Tab to go quickly back and forth here. And then grab this last one. Command C, and then here we go. Command V. Now I'm going to take this. I strongly encourage you to copy and paste as much stuff as you can when you're going to replicate things many times. So I'm just going to take all of, I'm just going to copy and paste each of the hundreds now to all of these. Boom. And then I'm going to do the same with the HTTPS. Okay, I'm going to save it here. Then let's take this little code, grab that, Command C. I put my cursor right in between that quote and then the /, and I'm going to go paste. Going to do the same thing here, and then same thing here. I'm going to save. Now let's preview this and see what we got. Okay, this is videos I have here are just about this guy Morton Subotnick. He's a famous composer, first like electronic musician, really early and electronic musician pioneer. Okay, great. So we have, this is the column that we wanted to make, and then here's the iPhone version. It goes into single, tablet, and then desktop. Okay, cool. Let's fix up, make this stuff look better. And what I want to do here is I'm going to go into the design view for a second, and I'm going to switch over to desktop here. Okay, and then instead of this kind of filler stuff, let's say you can put for this in your thing, for your version, you could make your website about anything you want. Subot. Okay, and then here I'm going to have the words, let's say I'm going to make 4 pages of this, and it's going to be about audio. Then he uses this Buchla synthesizer and contact. Let's say though, you can just make up anything for your page right now. Okay, and then at the bottom here, let's just do something like the footer is all rights reserved, option G, copyright 2014. You can say anything you want for your footer. I want to do a quick little thing here for these guys. There's a million ways to do everything, as you're probably learning. I'm going to just make a little space here in what it's called a non-breakable space. And if you just start typing and then N, it's going to complete that for you. And that's just going to put a little buffer room in between these words that are going to be part of our navigation. And then I'm just going to copy and paste that again. Okay. Now the last little thing I want to do here is I want to add some nice CSS to make our text look better. So instead of the insert panel, I'm going to shift over to CSS Designer, and I'm going to say for everything, just in case there's any kind of code in this boilerplate or main. This is the one that we started with. I'm going to say global here, and then under selectors, let's just click on that. Under selectors, I want to look for the kind of things that we designated, the head one, and then also the nav bar. We could just start typing in here. Here it is. Okay, for all of these, I wonder if we could do it all. Okay, so what I want to say is I want the text to be in the font family, and you can choose a font family here. Next week we'll get into using web fonts, which is really cool. And oh, I want to also designate that that's for H1 as well. And then let's make sure that we have the same thing here for this, and then this. Okay, and let's see, sometimes there's a text shadow. Let's say we want to go a 1 pixel shadow horizontally and 2 vertically, and we can put a little blur on there. Let's see what that does for fun. Let's just say like 4 pixel blur. Okay, and let's make that color be like gray. Okay, and so now what we want to do is choose maybe that same nav text. So you'll customize this on your own, and then last one is the foot. Okay, I'm going to save that. I'm going to save this, and then let's take a look. Okay, here's our getting there, better looking. Let's make this, you can see the shadow here, let's make this text bigger. Let's go back to Dreamweaver, and then I want to say in the source code here, I want to say that this text here in the head is an H1 text, H1 close, and then do the same thing here. You can just type the / and it'll finish that for you. Now if we go back and we go Command R, there we go. Okay, and so now we got something much better looking, and if we go to there. Okay, so that's what I want you to do today. One quick thing I want to show you. In the main CSS, the way that this is organized, you'll see this is all the code that's been written for us based on this media query. And this bottom one here is saying if the screen size is greater than 769 pixels, that's the desktop one. And I'm going to go up a third of the way more here. And this is the start one. This is the mobile one, so it goes mobile, then here's the one, if it's greater than 451, do this. That's the stuff that's going on behind the scenes. Okay, so let's stop here, but take the time to design the site the way that you want, and then we'll add the navigation later.